Huh? Hey, I'm tryna win. I'm tryna win in the 716 and I'm making it big. I wanna live. I think I'm ready to.
Yo, what's good, man? This is Issa Mitchell Podcast with your one and only host, Glory Boy, here with another special guest in the building. Yes, sir. Bro, I just want to say thank you for coming through. You know, it was, I caught you by surprise. I caught you by surprise. I'm like, yo, Nelson. As I saw you at Buffalo Suya Lounge, like, Nelson, bro, I got to have you on my podcast. We got a lot to talk about. And in terms of, like, just your journey, bro, very inspiring. I've watched you. You actually one of the good friends with David. David, we grew up together, so I've known David since we was young. So I'm like, oh shoot, and that's how we connected from that part. But yeah, before we even start this, man, y'all go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. And then I'm just gonna let you introduce yourself, bro. Tell people who you are and what you do, and then we can start this conversation.
First and foremost, thank you for having me as one of your guests. As everyone that's watching, they should probably have an idea who I am. My name is Nelson. I grew up in Buffalo, New York. Just a person trying to find his purpose in this world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like how you put it. Just a person trying to find his purpose in this world. Because as a man, you must have a purpose. You feel me? So let's talk about just your upbringing, though. Just your childhood upbringing. So for the people that may want to know where you're from and how was your childhood just growing up?
So I'll start off with just like I think it started in the 80s, where the United States and the Soviet Union, they were scrambling around to gain as much countries in Africa. From my understanding, is that the United States try to gain as many countries as they can by preventing them from joining the Soviet Union. So unfortunately, Sudan and other various countries fell victim to that. At one point, you had the Sudanese government, which was not an ally of the United States, and then you had these rebels, which was led by John Garang, the former founder of South Sudan. Well, the founder of South Sudan, and he led this rebellion to liberate his people from the Sudanese government control, which had lack of South Sudanese representatives in the capital, Khartoum. So what went on since the beginning of the 80s was the Civil War. And just like any other country at the time, there were millions displaced. And as for some civilians, they decided to take up arms. So my father was one of those civilians that took up arms, and he fought against the government. Unfortunately for my mother, there were some casualties on her side of the family, so they fled to the refugee camps. And just a few months later, that's when, well, not months, it was years. The war was ongoing, and she met my father there, and 9 months later, here I am.
Right.
After that, my family and I, we got accepted for refugee status, and we came to the United States. Growing up here, well, it was Buffalo.
So at what age were you when you came here?
I was 6 years old.
6 years old, so you was pretty young. And just, do you remember the moment just being in the refugee camp?
I remember just about everything.
About everything.
Migrating,
right.
Migrating and relocating, not once but twice. I also recall seeing a lot of things that just came into that when I was in boot camp. It resurfaced. I remember the time where there was an air raid It was a government aircrafts dropping bombs or just conducting their routine patrols. And then there was a one time where I recalled one of I actually don't know whether there were the rebels or the government forces.
So they were
But
just so confusing. Was it because of like were the rebels wearing like the military clothes or
all of them had.
so all of them so they were
All of them had
confusing the
military
civilians.
style. Yeah, correct.
Right.
So what I remembered was there was an individual that he was ordering. Well, him and along with his sir, I don't even know if they're service members, but they had they had 50 cals, and in one of them he had a belt wrapped around his chest, his arm, and he got into a verbal confrontation with this woman. And all I recall is him ordering the woman, him directing this woman to do something, and she obliged. She was like, "No, absolutely not." And it was just either you do that or I'll kill you right here. That's the first time I seen. I got a real sense of violence. But yeah, there were several times where I think there was a LRA. There were the Lord's Resistance Army. They were trying to break into camp and abduct some children or abduct civilians in this sense. And fortunate for us, we had couple of rebels there that prevented that from happening. And yeah, as time went on, more and more people kept leaving. I guess they were getting sent to their final destination in either Australia, Europe, or the United States. Some eventually got sent to Canada. But as time went on, it was our time. We had to go to medical, and then there was a lot of administrative paperwork that needed to get done, and then we eventually came here.
Yeah, bro. I can actually relate to your story because I also came. So before coming to the United States, you had to register as a refugee, or else your whole family is not coming.
Yeah.
You either come with a student visa or nothing, and if you come with a student visa, it expires. You have to go back home. So same exact thing. Had to go through the medical process and so on. Had to take vaccines before coming here. So when you first landed in the United States, what was going through your mind?
Um, so actually, it's interesting that you say that because I do recall I wasn't aware. Well, being 6 years old and just being brought upon turmoil.
Right.
I didn't know. I had no idea what was out there. From my understanding, I only knew that there were either white people or just white people. I didn't know there were other nationalities or ethnic backgrounds in the United States. In fact, the first white man was a cameraman that I seen. That was the first time he was a cameraman recording. I think it was in northern Uganda, and that was the first time that I interacted or seen a European with a European.
Okay.
But then, I was just confused.
Yeah, I feel you. you. Imagine, did you get here in the daytime or the nighttime? If you
I
remember.
remember when we got off the plane, it was raining. It was just cloudy and it was raining, and we were met by our caseworker.
Okay.
I think his name was Mr. Thomas.
Mr. Thomas, nice. Man, shout out to Thomas, man, because
I don't think he's gonna see this.
because the caseworkers actually really are very helpful. Because when I got here too, my caseworker, her name was Kelly. She really did everything she could, and thank God we got here when it wasn't snowing. It was actually during the fall. It was during like September when you could see like the leaves on the floor. But like, let's skip forward like to the time you started like actually seeing things and actually things that you can remember even more. So starting school in middle school. Let's talk about just being in like fifth grade. How was that experience for you? How was the kids around you as you were interacting with them and so on?
Fifth grade. So I was fortunate enough to be placed in private schools majority of my time, all throughout middle and high school. Fifth grade was very unique. It was the first time that I was placed in a private school in somewhat of North Buffalo. The only reason I say that this experience was unique was because this was the first time that I actually encountered racism. At the time, it was just my siblings. It was my siblings, which was my younger sister and my younger brother, and I believe it was like two other Africans. The school was predominantly white. Staff was predominantly white. We had one black English teacher, and excuse me. But yeah, back to what I was saying. But as time went on, we especially me, we were treated different. My mother did the best that she could to make sure that we had lunch, the best lunch we could. But the staff there always gave her an issue. I was just too young to understand what racism was. I was 11. And there would be times that we would get certain foods and the students would get fed. They would get fed the lunch that got delivered that day. And I remember the lunch lady at that time, she went and got the food from the freezer.
Oh, so the food that was already there like days before.
Yeah.
Wow.
And some of the parents actually got in on this. And just the issue with me is, it's not necessarily an issue. It just showed my kind of character. It's just I was defiant. I always outspoke against this, and there was always some sort of retaliation from these adults, and it's. I think it helped me understand, the cultural dynamic in Buffalo.
Right.
But it's I can still recall it to this day. It was one of the worst experiences that I ever encountered at a school, where the staff and then you would have parents come on, and for whatever reason they would try to belittle you. They will, because they have the ability to without facing any repercussions, because what are these? Yeah. What are my parents going to do?
Right.
You tell them this, they would just think that I'm just being a bad apple.
And since you just said that, because coming from an African home, you come home, you report whatever issue that you had in school, whatever happened in school. African parents tend to not believe you right away, because when you go to school, they want you to focus on your education. Right. So let me say someone comes and bully you, but you go home and say they bullied me. You say, why did you let them bully you? Like, come on, like, how can I explain that?
Suspension.
How can I explain that? But also, because even today, I've watched you, very hardworking guy. You got things going on for yourself. So what did you always want it to be, since you was young?
It's funny that you say that. I was fortunate enough to have a strong military background. A great sum of my family that was back in Sudan, they were in the military, and some that made it over to the United States. They joined some of the departments. So for some reason, I always had this feeling of joining the military. When, I don't know. Sometimes I would get either friends or family that was concerned for me. They would steer me away from pursuing that career line, mainly for my safety. But eventually, it was in 2018. That's when I decided to enlist. to enlist in the Marine Corps. But just thinking back at it, I was just intrigued. I recently found this out. Two of my aunts. One, she was an interpreter in Operation. What was it?
In the military.
Yeah, in the military.
Okay.
She was an she was an interpreter for the Department of Defense in Operation Iraqi Freedom. My uncle, he just never disclosed what unit he was with, but he was in the Green Berets. My aunt, I don't know what her occupation is, but she's well decorated, and I think right now she's with the National Guard. And during my time, I also met some Sudanese in the Marine Corps, which, even though it's a small department, I was just somewhat shocked to see other Sudanese in there.
Right. So, because I know you mentioned before you even made your mind into pursuing that path, they used to steer you away from it. Like they would tell you, no, it's dangerous. But so let me ask you, because you mentioned before, even when we did start this conversation, you mentioned that your father was in the military. So was that one of the reasons why you kind of like said, you know what, let me go? Because I have people that actually was in the military, and I just want to live by and build up their legacy.
That was one of the reasons.
Okay.
It's just there was a lot of uncleared chapters within his time as fighting. What is it? I just don't have a clear story on his time in the Sudanese military or in any of the civil wars. But yeah, he was one of the reasons to what led me to joining this field of work.
So let's talk about the Marine Corps, because a lot of people like to know exactly the work ethic, because they know as soon as you go into the military, you have to work hard. So what do they expect? So when you first signed up and went to training, what was the expectation when you was in that training camp?
So from what my recruiter initially told me is that, well, he told me this right before I got in the plane. So I stayed at the hotel, and then I seen him one last time, and he was like, there was actually two of them. One of them, he's a well decorated Marine. He told me, he was like, you're gonna have fun, and he drove off. I kid you. He drove off into the sunset. It's if you could just picture this, he drops me off. And he was like, yeah, I'll see you in 3 months. And then, he just stared at me and he was like, you're going to have fun.
Like a movie scene.
I kid you not. He gets in his car and he drives off, and this sunset was just right at the horizon. You're just like, wow.
With your bags, everything, he just drops you off. Yeah. So did he even wait for you to at least board on the plane, or he just dropped you off?
There was two people. So there was the recruiter. He dropped me off. At MEPS. It's the final place you drop all of the recruits before they get sent off to medical, and just to get further evaluation before they get sent off to the hotel, and then from the hotel to the airport, and then from the airport, boom, you're getting sent off to Paris Island. So the night before we were getting sent off to the to MEPS. One of them, he came in and he was like, hey man, I got the last document that you need, but I'll just tell you this because I won't see you tomorrow. The drill instructors are they're going to pick on you. They're going to pick on you because, one, your demeanor, and two,
right.
you're going to be bigger than most of them. Yeah, you're going to be taller than just about everyone in your platoon, so I'm just going to leave it at that.
So that becomes more intimidating to some people.
Yeah, well, at that point, I was like, well, I made it this far, so there's no turning back. And, we get sent off to the airport, and there were a couple of people from Buffalo, and from then on, we got sent to I think it was from DC, and then from DC, boom, we made it to Savannah, Georgia, and it was just very it was just ironic because I was like, this is a fresh start. You're starting off as this is gonna be a walk in the park, but do as you're told, and then that's it. Everything's going to be easy. But unfortunately, not unfortunately, now I look at it as unfortunately. I met this other guy from Buffalo, and he was talking the whole entire time. It got so bad to the point that one of the medics, he questioned. He was like, "Are you all right?" Because he was laughing. He was talking too much. He was like, "Well," he was like, "Why do you ask? Why do you ask her?" He was like, "Because people that usually laugh and talk this much, they're scared." He was like, "Nah, I'm not scared. Nah, I'm not scared." So we get to Savannah,
Right.
and me and him, we're talking the entire time. I'm a bit scared too, because it's gonna be different. But the training aspect was not gonna be the challenge. It's just the transitioning over. So we get to Savannah, and no one. The airport's completely vacant.
So what?
Yeah, the airport was completely vacant.
So that airport is just for the military.
Yes, that's where a lot of the recruits get sent to before they get picked up by the white bus. So what ended up happening was there were these two drill instructors there, and they were just they would take your documents, make sure you are who you are, and then they would send you to this line where you're sitting down for about 3 hours. The entire time you have your legs crossed and you're not saying anything. But
so when you say you're not saying anything, is it like you're not supposed to speak?
Yeah, you're not supposed to speak.
So what if you say something?
I mean, that's where I was getting to. So we sat next to each other, me and the one guy, and we just started talking. And this is the little mix. This is the taste of the mixing bowl. You're getting every kid from east of the Mississippi River. So you got some recruits from the South, the Northeast, and some states that are irrelevant to American culture. So what ended up happening was we were just talking, and then people would just tell us to shut up the whole entire time. And we just didn't listen. Y'all are in the same predicament as we are. Who are you to tell me to shut up?
Right.
So we get in the bus. The bus came, and we boarded the bus, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was about an hour. So we're sitting there, and it's just completely black. Bus driver's not talking to us. There's no one on the bus except for us. So boom, we're just driving, and next thing you know, for some reason, we decided to sit on the back of the bus.
So you always do it the opposite.
Yeah. So we went all the way to the back of the bus, and we were just we were instructed to sit down, and then to bend over and keep our heads down so we don't see the route that they're taking. We're talking the entire time, and the bus driver, he shouts 30 minutes. We're 30 minutes from the gate. And eventually it gets down to 5 minutes. And at that 5-minute mark, my friend was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. The doctor was right. I am scared." I was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm scared, man." I was like, "Listen, we're gonna be fine. Just when they're separating us at receiving, let's just stick together." So we get to receiving, and they start splitting us. We were also I was also given a heads up on that one. So what ended up happening? They were counting the people that would be placed in one group. So this is when I was like, okay. So I grabbed them, and I was like, "Just come here. They're not gonna know. They're tired. It's 2 a.m. Like, that's the last thing that's on their mind." So we're like, "All right, we're gonna be in the same group for the next 3 months. We're gonna be all right." And then we went to receive our last phone call. We get sent over there, and I forgot who I was supposed to call, but I called somebody. Maybe it was my girlfriend at the time, and because I couldn't remember anyone else's number. So, no, matter of fact, I called my sister first and she didn't pick up. And then I picked up, I called my girlfriend at the time and she picks up. And there's this sentence that we're supposed to say in there, and we have to shout it the entire time that we're we're on the phone.
Just like the movies, bro.
Just like that, picked up the phone, and there's the recruiter there.
Right.
They're over here they're yelling at you while you're doing this. So boom, boom, you're hearing yelling in the background. So I just shouted, hang up, and that was that. And from then on, it was a grueling first 12 hours. We had to go to haircuts, we had to go to medical, we had to get all of our issued clothing and apparel for the next 3 months, and that was it.
So so I want to ask you this because I know this was the hardest thing because us black people, we have natural hair, so our hair grows very slow. Mm-hmm. So I know when you go to the military, they want to give you the buzz cut. How did you react to that?
No, they didn't give us the buzz cut.
Really?
We got there, so I think that was around phase 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But we're standing in a line, and they're just cutting your hair off completely. They're just cutting your hair off, and then that's it. So there was this one barber. He was just running his mouth the whole entire time while he's cutting. Black barber, running his mouth the whole entire time, and I get there, with my demeanor, no smiling, nothing, just with the straight face. Like all of the jokes, all of the laughter stopped, and he just stared at me.
And you stared at him?
He just, I didn't say anything. I didn't make any eye contact with him. So once that happened, I just sat down, and then he cut my hair. Not a single joke, nothing. So I just left.
You didn't even look in the mirror,
Nothing. So 2 people came. He came out. They was like, "Yo, he was talking shit about you." I was like, "What are you talking about?" He was like, he said, "You're mad because they took your spear and shield at the bus stop before they dropped you off." I'm just like, come on, man.
So it's a lot of humor in the military, right? It's like they know when people joke, you don't really take it that serious. It's you straight to business. No, nothing. You're not there to joke around, like in terms of like.
But when it comes to black people,
emotional.
I kid you not, it was nothing but jokes that whole entire time.
Right. And also, I want to ask you this. So I'm gonna just go back to the beginning of everything. So because I know when you're in the military, you train really hard. So how did you prepare yourself before you left off to go there?
I was always athletic. So when it came to running the 3 mile, the pull ups, the push ups, I was already in peak condition. I was already in good condition. But yeah, the physical demanding aspect of it, I wasn't concerned about it.
Okay, that's good. That's good. And also, let's talk about the time they put you guys in your rooms and everything. Because I know, how was it when they started waking you guys up so early to go train? Was you already practicing that, or was it something very new to you? And how did you react to it?
Going back at receiving, I think it was a 2-day process. We didn't sleep. So after getting out of the plane, yeah, no sleeping.
They tell you not to sleep.
We're not sleeping because there was a lot of administrative work, and then there was a lot of medical, and then there was a lot of you had to get everything done in that time frame. So once we finally got to our room for the next 3 months, it was just they call it a squad bay. So it's just one big it's a loft. So it's a loft with no rooms except the bathroom, and then the instructors, they call it the hut, but it's just an office.
Okay.
So we get there, we clean it. That's where we learned to clean and then work together. And the temporary, the temporary chaperone, he was like, "Yeah, y'all are good. Y'all are good to go to sleep." And yeah, went to sleep completely. That was the first time I fell asleep. And I think it was, I don't know, I don't recall how how long I slept for, but yeah, we woke up at, if I'm not mistaken, 5.
Okay.
And then went to breakfast, and then that was about it. This was the time before we got our drill instructors assigned to us. So unfortunately, I didn't have to. We didn't prepare for what was coming for the next 3 months.
So I want to ask you this also, because I know when you go into it was like a culture shock. So when you go like in a place where you very much like not so aware of what's going on and so on, but you start learning day by day, what some personal qualities that you kind of discovered within yourself that you have throughout that process as well?
Some personal qualities is I think it's fear. I think fear is one of them. I went in there fearless, and leaving, I just had to think about my actions, and then and how they could affect me somewhere down the road. The reason to why I say that is because there were a couple of incidences where I reacted, and then I had to succumb to some severe consequences. But I was fortunate enough to not face any severe repercussions.
Right. What are some severe repercussions if you was to go through them?
So one of them was, well, you have about 60 individuals in one room for 3 months. And for some people, they just don't have the social skills to talk to other people with ethnic background. Because when we talk to each other, we don't talk to each other in a condescending tone, or we don't talk to you as if you're an idiot. Right. So some of these recruits and some of these individuals, they don't have that skill set. So I just got tired of it one time, and this was in the lunchroom. I was upset about something, and we couldn't get our lunch unless we were all quiet. And one of the recruits were talking, so I turned around and told him to quiet down. We're not going to get our food unless we're going there. And he told me, he was like, you were talking the whole entire time. So I tell him, I was like, I haven't talked. And he was like, what are you doing right now? And that's when I lost it. I just had enough of it.
So he made you feel like, he tried to make you feel like what you're saying, like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it was a condescending tone. Yeah,
right.
It was a condescending tone. And then he always had some lip in him from the beginning of the cycle. So what ended up happening is I threw the lunch tray that we got. I threw it, but I didn't see where it went. So what ended up happening, from what they told me, because I was blacked out at this entire time. So when I threw that tray, it went against the wall. It landed against the wall, shattered in 3 pieces. One piece went and it scraped one of the recruits on their eyebrow, and then the other one went, and then it literally landed on one of the recruits' forehead, so he had a bump. And then the other one, they couldn't find it. So I was approaching them, and I was like, I'm sick and tired of y'all in y'all mouth. And somebody screamed, "Oh my God, he's bleeding!" And I turned around, and one of the recruits was on the floor, and there was just blood dripping. And I was like, no, this can't be happening. So the only reason why I was upset about him being injured is because he was the church. He was he was an individual that he was very religious.
Very religious, right?
So,
he didn't want no problem with nobody.
I just picked him up, and then I didn't know what to do, so I walked him over to one of the instructors, and the head instructor, he just looked at me. He was like, "Hey, what happened?" I was like, I don't know. I mean, I just felt bad. So I just grabbed him from the collar, and I grabbed some napkins and just applied pressure on it. And yeah, after that, everything went downhill. So he looks at me. He was like, "Oh my God, what is this? What's going on?" And he was like, "They might send you home." Back in my head, I'm dropping F-bombs. I'm just like, come on, like this can't be happening. As soon as I say that, an ambulance pull up, and then military police comes up. And one of the officers came by. One of the officers, he was like, "Hey, you should be fine. Don't worry about it. You know, it wasn't intentional." So the instructor was like, "Yo, just go get your food." I was just like, "Nah, I'm good." He was like, "Go get your food. You're not. This is not the place for you to be stubborn." So I just went, got the food. The chefs, they see this and they felt bad. So they added a little more portion on there. I'm just like, dude, I'm about to.
You was going through a lot, bro.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, I'm about to get sent home. So, yeah, people from my platoon, they were already sitting down. Nobody, not a word came out. Nobody looked at me. And then I told the guy that was in charge of us, I was, yo, I'm just gonna tell you this. If anyone looks at me, I'm already getting sent home. I swear to God, they gonna get it. No, I said, I swear to God, I'm gonna knock them out. And somebody from a different platoon, they heard me, and they said, "Yeah, right." So
Right,
I'm just
right.
like, they're sending me home already. So I went over there and then I was like, "Who said that? Who said that?" Throwing some profane words, throwing some F-bombs. Who said that? And not a word came out. And then I was like, "Yeah, that's what I thought." And I went back to get the food, and I just sat there. I'm just like, man, it is over for me. Like 3 months of being called.
So how about when they send you home? What do? They punish you? They give you a fine or something?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't get sent home. But what ended up happening was, military police came and they asked, they were like, "Hey, are you recruit so and so?" I was like, "Yeah, that's me." They were like, "Would you step outside?" And the officer was like, "What happened?" I was like, "I don't know. I was just standing there, and then He was like, "What happened to his face?" I was like, "I don't know."
They got cameras in the.
No, unfortunately, there was no cameras. So I just kept saying, "I don't know." I just kept playing dumb the entire time. And so she was like, "You know what? I'm not going to entertain this." So she went to Black Platoon. She was like, "Who here witnessed what happened?" I seen a whole school of snitches going over there and just started. And I'm just like, "I'm going to remember your face. I'm going to remember your face." I'm just standing there. And one of the instructors, it was a whole bunch of people. People came over and they were asking me what happened, and they were like, "You don't have to talk to me, and you don't have to talk to me in the mannerism that we taught y'all. Just talk to me as any other individual." So I told them what happened. They were like, "Okay, let me see what I can do." So what they were trying to do is they were trying to suppress it from getting out there. They weren't trying to escalate this. But military police was already called. One of the officers, he went back to the cafeteria. They were looking for their tray, so they were like, "Where's the tray?" So they led me there, and then I was like, "Yeah, they threw it out." So it was two, and she was like, the cook came out, and she was like, "Yeah, we had to pour bleach on it because there were blood on there." So then they took the two, and there was like, "Where's the third one?" The cook was like, "We don't know where the third one is." And she was like, "They designed these to be indestructible. How did he break this? We just don't know." So they let me back outside, and our boss came up, and he was like, "Hey, what happened here?" I told him what happened, and then he was like, "Okay, let me see what I can do." So he went away, and they went in a huddle, and they were talking, and he comes back to me. He was like, "Hey, I'm sorry." I'm like, "Sorry?" And then the female officer came and she was like, "Recruit so-and-so. Recruit so-and-so. You have the right to be silent." She started reading my Miranda rights. And I'm just like, this can't be happening. This can't be happening. Not here. And, she put the handcuffs on me. And she tried to put me in the back of the squad car, but I was too tall. So they had to put me in backwards. So... yeah, they took me to the police station, and I kid you not, it was the longest ride, longer than a bus ride. Really? They took me. I didn't know there was jail inside of boot camp, but they took me in there, and they put me in a room, and they read me. I think that was it. They were telling me. I was like, "Am I going to jail? Like, what's going on here?" He was like, "Well." They were like, "We can either get you an attorney, or you can decline to have one." And I was like, "Well, since I'm in jail, can I at least get my phone call?" She was like, "Let me see." So one of the Marine police, he comes in and he was like, yeah, you're not calling out. You're not using the phone here. I was just like, what's the point of having me? What's the point of having me in here? And yeah, so I was trying to get an attorney because I don't know. They said I'm not in trouble, but I'm in jail.
Right.
So
you're in trouble, basically.
yeah. So I was like,
so what do they expect you to do? To find help?
So they sat there and they just kept talking to me, and I was like, you know what? I'll just write the statement and tell y'all what happened.
Right.
I started writing, and she called her chief in. Her chief comes in, and he reads the report, and he started laughing. He was like, I wish I had you as my recruit when I was a drill instructor. And he was like, don't worry, we're just going to do some paperwork and you're going to head back to your squad bay and everything should be fine. I'm like, huh? So he just started talking to me normally and then giving me candy. I think I was a month and a half in already at this point.
They give you candy.
I was like, I was already a month and a half in already. I haven't had any candy or any of that stuff. But yeah, took my fingerprint, took my picture, front, side to side, and then they took me back. They took me back to the barracks. So I get there, and everybody's just in shock. They were like, "How did you just? What are you doing back here?" Even the instructors were shocked, and there were one of them came up. He was like, "Hey, listen, we're gonna put you upstairs because we're not gonna take any chances tonight. You probably want some blood after seeing this snitches, so we're just gonna put you up there."
Right.
So yeah, that was it, and they had me on a watch list since then.
So what was the let's go through the training phase. So because I know you're very athletic, like you mentioned, and I've seen it myself. You work out a lot, you take good care of yourself. But what was the hardest part of the training that you went through? Because I know throughout the military, there's that one point where they push you to the max to make sure they try to break you down as much as they can. So what was that one point where you felt like, damn, like this is too much?
They couldn't. When it came to running, when it came to pull-ups, sit-ups, push-ups, they couldn't. I was fine. There was one though, one that's very common throughout the end of time, swimming. So during my freshman year in college, I took up swimming, and I became very good at it. But after that semester, I just never went back swimming because it's running. Running was my thing at the time. So as a joke, they were asking people to leave early so they can go to this one class. It would be for the class of people struggling to swim. I was just joking around. I was like, yeah, I forgot to swim. So I went there just to pass off time or just to get away from just about everyone. So when it came for the swim qual, I completely forgot how to swim. We get in the pool and I'm just like, I was joking around and then I forgot how to tread and I forgot, just all the techniques that I learned from the instructor. So day 1, failed. Day 2, failed. Day 3, they were like, hey, if you don't pass this week, we're going to have to recycle you. And I'm just like,
what do they mean by recycle?
Recycle sends you back to training day 1.
Okay. It's
either training day 1 or when the next company picks up.
Okay.
So that's for me. Yeah. Train day 3, I was like, all right. I learning from the 2 days, I was like, I've been getting cramps from eating heavy in the morning. We're on our feet from morning all the way to sundown, and every chance I got during breakfast, lunch, or dinner, I would consume as much as I could. But when it came to swimming, I couldn't do that because of the cramps. So I sacrificed the necessary amount of calories and carbs that morning just so I won't have that cramp.
Right.
So day 3, I failed. And it got to me. So we went back in the afternoon. It was twice. It was 1 in the morning and then 1 in the afternoon. So afternoon came along. I was starving, and I failed. I failed again. I failed the test that afternoon, and we were in class, and then one of the students. I was like, it was just stuck in my mind. I was in the class, and then I was writing down notes, and one of the recruits asked me a question. What was the question? He whispered it. But because I stand out so much, the instructor seen me moving my lips, and he was like, "Yo, get up." So our punishment there is IT, intense training. So what they would have, I would think for 1 minute, they're just telling you to do jumping jacks, high knees. Yeah, it's just you're getting that burn.
And they just
It's just over and over and
push
over while they're
up,
yelling
burpees,
at you.
everything.
Yeah, everything. So I was weak. I didn't have breakfast.
Right.
I sacrificed breakfast that morning, and I failed swimming not once but twice.
And swimming takes a lot of energy.
It takes a lot out of you, and so I was in my feelings. So what ended up happening was, I just stopped, and then he was like, "Yo, what are you doing?" I was like, "I just can't. I just can't." And he was like, "Just go back to class." Go back to class, and he whispered in. So we had this Haitian drill instructor. Funniest, and the most inspirational instructors we had, and he whispered to him, and I'm not making this up. After one of the instructors were done, he puts his head up, and he was like, "Recruit, are you really gonna let a little pool get in the way of you becoming a Marine?" I felt so small as soon as he said that, right. And I was like, you know what? At this point, I don't even got the energy to sit here and entertain this. I was like, "Yes, sir." And he was like, "Oh, okay." Go to the door and then tap on the door 3 times and say the following words: "I refuse to train." So that's you quitting, and then you just get separated. And then so what ended up happening is I went there, and I was going to tap. And he said, "Bitch, get back over here." So get back over here.
Like, what you doing, man?
Because he's seen it.
No, but like, to be honest, I would encourage you to finish up too, because you went through all those, like, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. You even sacrificed your health in terms of, like, you didn't even eat.
It was a month, yeah.
You know, but you still wanted. I would tell you the same thing, like, man, like, just get back over here, man. You started all this, and you're gonna finish. You're gonna just gonna quit at the last minute? No. But also, was that something that actually taught you resilience, like to just never give up?
It did.
Okay.
It did. After I think after that day, it was we went over and we went back the final day. If you didn't pass, you were done. They were gonna send you back. No one can save you. So what ended up happening was that morning, one of the instructors, the swimming instructors, he was like, "Hold on, I'm gonna send you to this guy because he can help you out." So he just talked with me. He was like, "Hey, what's the problem?" I was like, "I don't have that much body fat." He was like, He was like, no, Michael Phelps don't have that much body fat, so you're nothing special. But let's work on something. And he was like, "I want you to work on your floating, but I want you to flap your fingers." So I went back there, and I flapped my fingers, and right then and there, I remembered everything from the course that I took. And I went back to him. I was like, "Hey, I'm ready." I was like, "I remember everything. I'm ready." He was like, "You sure?" He was like, "All right, I want you to go to that end of the pool and stroke over, and backstroke to this end." I went over there and boom, boom, boom. He was like, "Huh?"
Hold on a second. It's a miracle.
He was like, "What?" But yeah, after that, it was just test after test. Because at that point, all of the knowledge and then the basic fundamentals of swimming just came back to me, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I could do this."
And I want to ask you this: so throughout, like, your military career, because I know you're done now, right?
No, I'm still in.
You still in?
I'm in a year break.
Okay.
As of right now.
So is it okay for me to ask, like, were you sent like anywhere overseas for either like a war or a mission or anything like that?
So it wasn't really a deployment, but my first year in, I got the opportunity to go overseas, and then it was part of this joint training exercise. We got to train along with our foreign adversaries, and that's it. I mean, that went on for a year long, right. And it was supposed to be smooth, and it was supposed to be a fun experience. But due to poor leadership and some inconsiderate beings, that fun was taken away. So it was just an experience to learn, learning about the good traits in leadership and then the bad traits. But fortunately, I think it was a year and a half later, or a year later actually. My my unit, we got activated for a humanitarian aid operation.
Right.
And that was another experience. What made that so unique is that being a refugee, being a former refugee, I got to experience what it was like. I got to see what it's like dealing with a refugee from another point of view. Whereas
Where you helping them?
Whereas over 20 years ago, it was the other way around.
Right.
I was the refugee, and there were soldiers, and there were soldiers that were helping my family and I out. So at this point, it was different.
It was the other way around.
It was the other way around.
Man, that's crazy though. Like looking back and saying, like, damn, like I was in this position
Yeah.
now. Look at me.
Yeah.
I'm actually doing the opposite to make a difference. So it's because we getting close. We getting actually to the end of it.
Of course.
But I want to ask you, do you think, I mean, because there's a lot of people that also think about joining the military. Do you think it would be like a good career if someone was to try to pursue it based on your own experience?
So it's a yes or no.
Okay.
Just like any other job, there's pros and cons. There's pros and cons to everything. When it comes to joining the military, you always got to ask yourself, why am I joining the military? You know, the 5 W, we call it the 5 Ws, who, what, when, where. But it doesn't necessarily apply to this, but you ask yourself, what is my reason of going to join one of the best militaries in the world? How long am I going to be in there for, or what job do I want to pursue? Because once you sign that paper,
Well, you can't do nothing, right?
well, for 2 years. For 2 years, you're going to be working your job, but then you get opportunity to choose another job.
Okay.
But it's just if you feel like, hey, life is terrible right now, I'm going to make this 4 or 6 year commitment. That's something that you have to sit down and think about overnight and again and again. Because that 4-year commitment's going to drastically change your life. Some for the better, and unfortunately, some for the worse. Because you're dedicating nothing but your time.
Your life.
And your life, God forbid, to an organization. You're going to have to do what you're told and just about that. But for some people, if you're looking to change your life, I would say, yeah, why not? Give it a try.
Right.
For others, if you just want to go in there without a purpose, then there are going to be obstacles that you will eventually have to overcome, or if you don't, unfortunately, there's repercussions to it. But for anyone that's trying to get out of a bad predicament, I would say, why not? Give it a try and start over. Or if you need to get away from the current town or city that you're in, give it a try. Sometimes change is for the better. Sometimes it's okay to start a new chapter. But if you're just going in there thinking that's going to be fun and games, unfortunately, that's not what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Appreciate your time, bro.
Of course.
I had a great time listening to your story. I mean, man, you're a good storyteller.
Yeah.
You're a good storyteller, and I appreciate you for being here.
Of course.
Yeah, man, this is East Pinchal Podcast, man. Y'all go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to like, comment, share this video. And you could just tell the people your Instagram so that way they can follow you. Your Instagram?
Yeah, I got an Instagram.
All right. What is it?
It is black.stallionaire. I mean, I just promote nothing but personal fitness and just somewhat of spiritual and somewhat African positivity. You know, you gotta love who you are, how you look, because I'm guarantee you God didn't make a mistake making you. So always love every flaw and every characteristic that you have, because you're you.
Absolutely. Shout out to you, bro, for giving people that game. Thank you so much, man. And we outside. Let's go.